Okay folks, welcome! What I'm going to do is show you a standard refueling mission. And I'm using MechJeb here. Mechanized Jebediah 2. I've turned off all the sound because I don't want you people to go deaf. Now we're going to do a basic ascension, launch basically, to 80 km. I have it so it prevents overheats. There's nobody in it. It's unmanned. It's a robot refueling mission. Auto stage. I don't have to worry about anything. In auto warp. Since it doesn't really have anything too heavy, and the rockets, the solid fuel boosters will fall off pretty early, I have it churning at 10 km. Unless anything goes horribly wrong, this should be a basic and very boring mission. And as I said, I don't have the volume control on. And once the planet gets out of the way, lag should cease. There it goes. So what I'm going to show you is how to use this mod. And since I'm refueling a space trucker around the moon, you're going to see how to use quite a few of it. Quite a few of the different parts of it. You get over here. Starting to overheat a little bit. So near the end, the docking is a little annoying, and some parts of it you still need to have your finger on a button to do stuff, to tell it no, stop doing that. And you have to be careful. You have to know what you're doing, really. You still have to know mechanics of flight, or not flight, navigation in zero gravity or light gravity or weak gravity, microgravity, to completely be able to use the mod, just like any other mods. And also the thing is, MJ here has some pros and some cons when it comes to design. You will end up making almost foolproof ships so it could use them properly. Ironically, this probably makes you a better engineer than most, because you end up making ships that a normal player could probably play and actually do amazing things with. Even this mod, after a while, I found that I was actually using less fuel, because I'm using the same path of launch here. 80 km, the final orbit, 10 for gravity turn. And after a while, it gets better at it, and I actually ended up having more fuel near the end of the journey, which could be good or bad. When you're trying to dock, you don't really want a lot of mass and a lot of things hanging out the sides. So we're still got a way to go. I won't be editing it too much because it has auto warp and a lot of the functions. So the total film footage should be probably 20 to 30 minutes, which means I'll probably break it up into 2 videos for YouTube. And once again, I've turned the sound completely off because I don't want to turn you people into deaf people. I'm never very good at just talking off the improving, am I? I need to write a script one day. A script! But here we go. It looks okay. We're not facing the planet, which causes lag. There we go. Lag! Lag! There goes the rockets. So there's the sun. And it's still overheating, but it is, as you can see, green. Prevent overheats. It's green, which means that program has been kicked in. It's controlling the throttle. It's doing gravity turn because we passed 10 km. This will continue to allow it to ascend while at the same time preparing it for its burn for orbit. If you have a really heavy or massive ship, or a ship that has a lot of things that are going to be popping off it, a lot of boosters, you want to do that higher. Some people suggest doing it as low as 5 because you are using the atmosphere to help you. So, but 5 km is pretty low, especially if you're going to have things popping off. Now, if you're going to still do it low but have a lot of boosters and stuff that are going to be decoupling, you might want to put smaller little rockets on those guys that turn on when they get decoupled, so they fly away from your ship. But that might add mass, and I do like to try to keep things simple, especially because I have a habit of still sometimes screwing up stages, and things have a habit of blowing up. Alright, now this should be enough to get it up into orbit. There should still, in this second stage, be enough fuel to get it into orbit, stabilize it, and even stabilize it, take it to the moon, and even stabilize it in orbit there. That's because we lost a lot of mass, and the first stage here is pretty small. So, still has plenty of electricity and plenty of fuel for the RCS. It doesn't really need to use it for maneuvering. A larger ship would probably have a lot more RCS, because to be honest, a larger ship would have more mass. But this is a unmanned refueling rocket, and yes, I need to use a lot of them sometimes, because the trucker, for example, the space trucker, I've already refueled the main engine, the main fuel tank I should say, but it has 4 side engines with 4 side tanks, and those tanks are each the size of this refueling rocket. So it means that I'm going to have to do it a lot. Now, there is a fueling station around the moon, but I haven't really tested to see how well the space trucker docks itself, especially considering how freaky this mod is when it comes to docking. It still has issues. So you really have to make a balanced ship. One without mass is probably a lot easier. One with low mass, I should say, is a lot easier than one with a lot of mass. And we're getting ready to burn in T minus 1 minute and 27 seconds. So it's lining up. And it's locked in, so it's doing a time warp. T minus 10 seconds and counting, or counting down, I should say. So we should still have fuel after this burn. And we should be in a nice stable orbit. Out of the atmosphere, but still in the the sphere of influence of the planet, which will help us slingshot to the moon. Or moon, whatever. Let me get the planet out of the way, because that just lags galore there. Okay, so we are now in a stable orbit. Here we are. That's a manned station, and that's an unmanned fueling station higher up. We're not going to either one of those. We are going to the moon. So, if we were going to those, we'd be using this autopilot here, but we're not. Stop that. Turn that off. Anyway, we're going to go to the moon. So we're going to use this. This allows you to change orbit, do all sorts of funny little things. Go to another planet if you so wish to do so. But we're not going to go to another planet. We're going to go to the moon, which means we want to intercept it. And watch out for that auto warp. So we click it. It's now locked in. Great. So in T minus 10 minutes and 20 seconds we will burn. The instant we start to burn, I'm going to turn off the auto warp, and there's a reason for that. I left it on once, and it just continued on with its new maneuver, its new course, and slammed into the moon before I knew what was going on. So we're going to let it line up, and once again it's taking a while to line up because it still has some mass. This tiny little ship is trying to move the whole thing, and most of the SAS and all the other control stuff's in here. So it's kind of moving this huge back end here. Luckily, it has plenty of time to do that. But when you get closer to docking with even larger ships or delicate ships with lots of solar panels and antennas all around, you're going to want to have a small refueling rocket. This is why this rocket's so small. So the thing is, it's refueling things that are not much bigger either. So okay, so the next burn is in T minus 6 minutes and T minus 5 minutes, T minus 4 minutes. The planet, which I call planet lag. I know it's named Kerbin, but it's still planet lag to me. Alright, T minus 20 seconds, and we're now time warp 1, which I'm turning off the auto warp. Next burn, T minus 10 seconds. So what it's going to do is that little orange dot, that's the course it wants to lay in, and now it's burning. Once again, I turned the sound off so you guys don't go death. I tried this recording earlier with a different mission, and I have headphone on, and I had it on 100%, and with those solid fuel rockets and the fuel liquid fuel rockets went off, I was like, oh my god. I kept them on. I kept on trying to talk, and I listened to it later, and yeah, you can't hear a word I'm saying. So we are now set to go to the moon. Once again, if I had the auto warp on, it would have slammed me into there. At least the first time I did, I didn't know what was going on, and it slammed me into the moon. Because once you hit the sphere of influence, the gravitational pull of the moon, it pulls you right in. So how are we going to get there without waiting for so many hours? Warp Helper. Warp Helper will time warp you until a certain point. Next maneuver mode, so on and so forth. SOI, that's not an L, that's not the satellite of love or the planet Earth sun. This is sphere of influence. And this is a 60-second lead time, which means it'll stop 60 seconds before it gets into the gravitational pull of the moon. It'll do something like this. Please don't crash, please don't crash, please don't crash. I'm sure astronauts say that all the time. Now, last time I did this also while recording, it crashed. The game crashed. So, I'm going to wait. We'll see what happens. It's slowing down. It's slowing down the warp. And there it goes. So, I don't need that node anymore actually, but so T minus 52 seconds, we will come under the gravitational pull of the moon. That's where we use the maneuver planner again. Beep. No. Sorry, I like the old one where I can actually see what I'm touching.